What started as innocent chats in Daniel's office soon escalated. They exchanged phone numbers, began texting each other, and eventually started meeting up outside of work. Roxana, who used to spend most of her time at home, began disappearing more often. She'd tell Raiden she was visiting her parents, leaving their son with a neighbor. Raiden grew suspicious and decided to call his in-laws to confirm her story. That's when he learned the truth. Roxana hadn't been visiting her parents at all. She had been lying the entire time. Hello, and welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into another horrifying real-life story. This time, the events unfold in the city of Brașov, Romania. This is no ordinary case. It's an unusual and twisted tale that defies logic. The story revolves around a wealthy family of garment entrepreneurs and a series of events that spiral into chaos. There are several key characters involved, but don't worry. I'll break it down step by step so it's easy to follow. At the heart of this story are three individuals who experience unimaginable horrors, all because someone is desperate to cover up mistakes and lies that have been buried for far too long. Let's jump right into it. Before we dive into the story, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Alright, let's get started. This story is about a man named Daniel, born in 1977. He was the eldest of 3 siblings and graduated with a degree in business management. Daniel's father, Florin, was a successful businessman in the garment industry, owning 2 factories in Romania and 1 in India. Sadly, Daniel's mother passed away in 1999. A few years later, in 2001, Florin remarried a woman named Christina. Luckily, Christina turned out to be a wonderful stepmother who treated Daniel and his siblings like her own children. In 2005, Daniel met Loredana, the woman who would become his wife. They fell in love and got married in July of that year. They started a family together, welcoming a son in 2007 and a daughter in 2009. Around the time their second child was born, Daniel transitioned from working at a service company to taking on a leadership role at one of his father's factories in Brașov, at Florin's suggestion. This move marked a turning point in their lives, bringing more prosperity and stability to his young family. Daniel's relationship with Christina remained strong, especially when Florin was away on business in India. Christina often stayed at Daniel's house to help with the grandchildren and spend time cooking in the kitchen with Loredana. On the flip side, Daniel and his family frequently visited his father and stepmother during school holidays, creating many cherished memories together. As for Daniel's career, his leadership at the factory was widely admired. He was known for being a wise and effective manager, successfully growing the business and creating jobs for many people. One of his closest colleagues was Raiden, who served as the head of production and financial supervisor. Over time, their professional relationship evolved into a genuine friendship. Daniel often invited Raiden and his wife, Roxana, over for dinner, and the bond between their families grew stronger. It was more than just a boss-employee connection. On the flip side, Raiden's decision to frequently bring his wife, Roxana, around boss Daniel turned out to be a huge mistake. Over time, a romance began to brew between Daniel and Roxana. At first, Roxana started showing up at work more often, spending extra time chatting with Daniel in his office. Things escalated when they exchanged phone numbers, began texting each other, and even started meeting outside of work. Roxana started making excuses to stay away from home, claiming she was visiting her parents. Meanwhile, she often left her child with a neighbor. Suspicious, Raiden decided to call Roxana's parents, only to find out she hadn't been visiting them at all. Determined to uncover the truth, he began investigating. Following some tips from co-workers, he eventually caught Daniel and Roxana together in a hotel room. Devastated by the betrayal, Raiden immediately quit his job at Daniel's company and asked Roxana to move back to their hometown with their son. However, Roxana refused and instead filed for divorce. Daniel, attempting to control the fallout, offered Raiden money to stay quiet and not inform anyone, especially Daniel's family, about the affair. Raiden declined the money but promised to keep the secret. By 2014, he had officially divorced Roxana, won custody of their son, and returned to his hometown of Kampulung. Back at the factory, Daniel and Roxana's relationship quickly became the worst-kept secret. Employees whispered about their affair, and over time, many started wondering about Daniel's relationship with his wife, Loredana. Questions began to swirl. How was she handling all of this? Was she even aware? Roxana's frequent visits to the factory and her time spent with Daniel fueled the gossip even more. Eventually, the truth reached Loredana through an anonymous letter, believed to have been sent by someone at the company. Heartbroken and suspicious, Loredana decided to investigate on her own. It didn't take long before she caught Daniel and Roxana together at the office. Both claimed it was purely business, but Loredana wasn't naive, she knew better. Loredana wasted no time reporting the situation to her mother-in-law, Christina. Shocked and furious, Christina informed her husband, Florin, who confronted Daniel. Florin delivered a scathing lecture, warning Daniel that any further betrayal would have dire consequences. Florin made it clear, if Daniel continued the affair or hurt his family again, he would be stripped of his position in the company, cut out of the inheritance, and no longer considered part of the family. Faced with the prospect of losing everything, his wealth, his job, and his father's respect, Daniel swore to his father that nothing like this would ever happen again. A wife's intuition is hard to fool, and Loredana was no exception. She began noticing something strange. Daniel frequently transferred money to a woman's bank account. Whenever she tried to check his account transactions, he would forbid her, which only deepened her suspicions. Determined to uncover the truth, Loredana and her mother-in-law, Christina, decided to investigate further. Their search led them to Raiden's house, but when they got there, the place was empty. Fortunately, a neighbor gave them Raiden's phone number. When they called, he was reluctant to talk, likely trying to keep the promise he had made to Daniel. But on January 1, 2016, Raiden finally broke his silence. Feeling sorry for Loredana, who had been living in a web of lies for 2 years, he agreed to meet her and Christina at a restaurant to share the full story. What Raiden revealed hit Loredana like a bolt of lightning. After hearing everything, Loredana and Christina wasted no time. They drove straight to an upscale neighborhood to confront Daniel. They arrived at a luxurious house and discovered the shocking truth. Daniel had purchased the home for Roxana in 2014 for $130,000. When confronted, Roxana didn't deny a thing. Instead, she boldly claimed she had been married to Daniel since 2015. The revelation was devastating. Legally, Daniel was still married to Loredana, making this marriage nothing short of betrayal. Stunned and hurt, Loredana demanded answers. Daniel, however, remained silent. Christina, furious, warned him that she would report everything to Florin. If she did, Daniel risked being stripped of his position in the company, losing his inheritance, and being cut off from the family entirely. Loredana pressed Daniel for clarity about their marriage, but his response only made things worse. He admitted he was confused. He loved Roxana but didn't want to leave Loredana. Heartbroken, Loredana couldn't bear to stay. She asked Christina to leave the house with her, tears streaming down her face. Panicking at the thought of his father finding out, Daniel made a desperate and dark decision. He reached out to Bogdan, a former employee, and arranged a meeting at a gas station. There, Daniel offered Bogdan $13,000 to eliminate Christina, his stepmother. To show he was serious, he handed over an $8,000 advance. Bogdan agreed without hesitation and immediately began planning, using location details and instructions provided by Daniel. Meanwhile, Christina, unaware of the plot against her, decided not to call Florin while he was away on business in India. She didn't want to distract him or risk disrupting his work, so she resolved to wait until he returned home to tell him everything. On the night of January 20, 2016, around 10 p.m., Bogdan entered the home of Christina's mother. Wearing a face mask and gloves, he slipped in through a window into the 55-year-old woman's bedroom, where she was sleeping alone. Startled awake, she barely had time to react before Bogdan fired a single shot to her head, killing her instantly. To make it look like a robbery, he rifled through the cupboards, taking some jewelry, and left the room in disarray. Then, he fled into the night. 4 days, The police investigated but found no leads. They concluded the incident was the work of a random burglar. Meanwhile, life seemed to go on, until things took an even darker turn 2 days later. On January 22, 2016, at around 4:37 p.m., Daniel returned home and got into a heated argument with his wife, Loredana. Their children were out of the house at lessons, leaving the couple alone. Consumed by rage and ill intent, Daniel grabbed a gun and shot Loredana 5 times in the head, killing her instantly. She was only 38 years old. After the murder, Daniel left the house, heading toward his car, where Roxana was waiting for him. But as he crossed the yard, a woman called out to him. It was Simona, Loredana's best friend. "Hi, Daniel. I'm just heading in. I have plans with Loredana," she said cheerfully, walking toward the house. Daniel froze, caught off guard. Panicking, he followed Simona inside. When Simona walked into the living room and saw Loredana's lifeless body on the floor, she gasped in shock. Before she could react, Daniel turned the gun on her and shot her too, killing her on the spot beside her friend. Daniel fled the scene immediately, leaving chaos in his wake. However, there was one critical thing he didn't realize. Simona hadn't come alone. Her husband had accompanied her but had stayed outside to park the car and chat with neighbors. He saw Daniel leaving the house in a hurry, which made him suspicious. When he entered the house moments later, he found both his wife and Loredana dead. Shocked and horrified, he called the police and identified Daniel as the likely perpetrator. The police launched an investigation, including reviewing surveillance footage from a camera across the street. The footage showed Daniel at the scene during the time of the murders, and his car was clearly visible. Combined with Simona's husband's testimony, the evidence pointed squarely at Daniel. The police moved quickly and arrested both Daniel and Roxana at their home. At first, they denied everything. Daniel claimed he had only stopped by Loredana's house and argued that his DNA and fingerprints being there wasn't proof since he had lived there before. It seemed like he might get away with it, until investigators found the murder weapon in Daniel's car. The bullets matched those used to kill Loredana and Simona, leaving no room for doubt. Confronted with the evidence, Daniel had no way out this time. The truth had finally caught up with him. Earlier, we mentioned that Daniel was caught on surveillance cameras. Interestingly, a car with the same license plate as his was also spotted by several residents near the scene where Christina's mother was attacked. However, eyewitnesses noted that the masked figure they saw that night didn't match Daniel's build. It was someone smaller. When police re-examined the car, they found fingerprints and DNA that didn't belong to either Daniel or Roxana. After further testing, the DNA was identified as Bogdan's. The discovery triggered a manhunt, and Bogdan was eventually captured in the city of Myovini. Facing severe punishment, Bogdan confessed everything. He admitted that Daniel had paid him to kill Christina, his stepmother. Bogdan also revealed he wasn't working alone. He had been assisted by a driver, a friend named Vlad, who helped him carry out the crime. During Daniel's trial at the Brashov City High Court, he confessed to his motives. He admitted he wanted Christina gone because he feared she would tell his father about his secret marriage to Roxana. Daniel was terrified his father would be furious, fire him from the company, and cut him off from the family fortune. Daniel also confessed that he planned to kill his wife, Loredana, so he could introduce Roxana to his father as his new wife. "I didn't love Loredana anymore," he stated coldly. As for Simona, he claimed she was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. She was killed because Daniel panicked and feared being exposed. On April 18, 2016, the court found both Daniel and Roxana guilty. They were convicted as the masterminds behind the deaths of 3 women and charged with deliberate and premeditated murder. The judge sentenced them each to 75 years in prison, with the possibility of parole after serving a minimum of 45 years. Bogdan received a 25-year sentence, with the chance for parole after 15 years, while Vlad, the driver, was sentenced to 6 months in prison for his role. In the aftermath, Daniel's 2 children were placed under the care of his sister, ensuring they would grow up far away from the shadows of their father's actions. What lessons can we learn from this story? Comment below.